First and foremost, let's take a look at the actual header of the complaint. So when we're talking about the actual complaint itself, we can see here, this is what it looks like. State of Wisconsin versus Kyle H. Rittenhouse, filed on August 27, 2020 with the clerk of the circuit court in Kenosha County, Wisconsin. And it's going to be heard by the Honorable Bruce Schroeder. And so we want to talk a little bit about who that is, because a judge is very important in a case like this. A judge is going to be the person who is going to be ruling on the motions, right? So if you submit a motion to suppress evidence, for example, the judge is going to rule on that. Both sides are going to make their arguments, and then the judge is ultimately going to make the final decision on that. And so the judge can be instrumental in plea negotiations. They can handle settlement conferences. And so it's really important that we know who this person is. And we do, now that the case has been filed and assigned. The gentleman who is going to be hearing the case is Judge Bruce Schroeder. And a little bit of information about Bruce Schroeder. Bruce Schroeder earned his undergraduate degree from Marquette University in 1967. 1970, he earned his JD from the same school. He was appointed to the bench by Governor Tony Earl, who is a Democrat, and that happened in 1983. So you can ask yourself whether or not that actually matters. The Democrats today, I'm sure, are very different than the Democrats in 1983, and so I don't really think you can read anything into that. What I do think is important is that it does sound like this judge was actually a former prosecutor. We see here that from 1971 to 1972, he was the assistant district attorney. From 1972 to 1977, he was the actual district attorney, and then he went into private practice before becoming a judge. And this is the same sort of a formula that we see for a lot of prosecutors. They start off as prosecutors. They use that as sort of their calling card to then become a defense attorney. They always shout, "Yeah, I used to be a prosecutor, therefore I'm amazing somehow." And they become a defense attorney. I call them the non-true bloods. There are those of us who are true blood defense attorneys, but some of these prosecutors are not. They kind of flip sides a little bit. So I like to needle them from time to time. But this judge, he kind of did that, right? He was a prosecutor. Sounds like he went to the defense. I don't know that for sure because he stopped practicing in 1983. Then he became a judge, and he's been sitting on the bench ever since then. But what does that mean? Do we actually know anything about this judge? Not really. Obviously, I'm not licensed in Wisconsin. I don't know him personally, but I was able to find an article from the AP that was written in 2006 that is entitled "Hundreds Ask to Avoid Court of the Kenosha Judge." The reputation of one Kenosha County Circuit Judge is apparently so daunting that hundreds of defendants request a different judge, creating imbalances in the workloads of different felony courts. And of course, Judge doesn't know why. He doesn't know why as many as 250 people since August have requested that somebody else hear their cases. And, this is something that happens in Arizona. Happens all over the country, in basically any place that has the ability to file what's called a notice for a change of judge. If you're a criminal defendant, you have a right to just strike that judge. You ask for a different judge. It sort of helps eliminate bias or perceptions of bias, just to say, you just have a strike. You just get to, we're not going to even ask any questions, just file this notice and we'll change judge. So really that's what was happening with Judge Bruce Schroeder for some time. There was some speculation in the article as why did this happen. It says here that Schroeder is known for his occasional fiery style, sharp tongue, and stiff sentences. He can also be unpredictable, says defense attorney Michael Ciccinelli. From a defense standpoint, clients like somewhat more certainty. And another judge actually said, I think Judge Schroeder is sometimes stern in his sentences, but he goes on to say the sentences are no longer on average no worse than any other judge. So that's what we know. Nothing really groundbreaking there, but it does help provide some context. This judge may be somebody who is, a little harsher on sentences than otherwise, because it sounds like defense attorneys have probably caught wind of what it's like to be a defense attorney in his courtroom, and they've been recommending to their clients, you got to change this judge, file a notice for a change of judge. Now that happened in 2006. It's ancient history, especially in today's world. So we don't know, if that has changed or if this is still something that is going on, but it does provide some historical context.